Looking for reliable forex analysis? Check out ForexScope for daily forecasts and insights to help you trade smarter. Link in the description and comments.
A contentious new youth crime strategy has been unveiled by the Victorian government, igniting a heated debate over its efficacy and motivations. This policy, framed as adult crime, adult time, proposes to sentence children as young as 14 as adults for specific, serious offenses. Critics, however, are decrying it as a superficial political maneuver, a coward punch, rather than a robust solution to the complex issue of youth crime. The government's rationale suggests a desire to appear tough on crime ahead of next year's state election, potentially by capitalizing on public fear and frustration. Yet, the evidence supporting such punitive measures as a means to reduce future offending is questionable at best. Instead of addressing the root causes of crime, opponents argue, these laws are akin to locking the back door while leaving the front wide open. Leading child welfare advocates, legal bodies, and even conservative think tanks like the Institute of Public Affairs are echoing a consistent message. Genuine crime prevention stems from increased investment in programs and support, not from harsher, longer incarceration for young offenders. This stance directly contradicts the government's new direction. It's a stark reversal from just last year, when the same government championed raising the age of criminal responsibility, citing the very evidence it now seems to be disregarding. At that time, the state's own police and crime prevention minister, Anthony Carbines, articulated a clear understanding of the issue, stating that disproportionate criminal justice interventions actually increase rather than decrease the risk of offending for children and young people. He further elaborated, emphasizing that community safety is best served through prioritizing diversion wherever possible and appropriate, and targeting intensive interventions to children and young people who are most likely to offend seriously and repeatedly, and that lasting results are only achieved by addressing the underlying causes of offending and tailoring interventions based on risks and needs. These principles now appear to have been set aside. The proposed Victorian legislation allows for children aged 14 and over to be sentenced in the county court, treating them as adults. This could result in significantly longer prison terms, with sentences for aggravated home invasion and aggravated carjacking potentially stretching to life imprisonment for individuals aged 14 and above, a dramatic escalation from the children's court maximum of 3 years per offense. The government aims to prioritize community safety in sentencing, consider the impact on victims, and remove the presumption that prison should be a last resort for child offenders. 5 offenses are specifically targeted: aggravated home invasion, intentionally causing injury in circumstances of gross violence, recklessly causing injury in circumstances of gross violence, and aggravated carjacking. Furthermore, carjacking will generally be heard in the county court, with exceptions requiring substantial and compelling reasons. Aggravated burglary and armed robbery, if deemed serious and repeated, will also be transferred to the county court. This punitive approach mirrors measures recently implemented in Queensland, where child offenders as young as 10 can face adult sentences for serious offenses, including mandatory life imprisonment with a minimum 20-year non-parole period for murder. Queensland's laws initially covered 13 offenses, but have since expanded to include another 20, such as attempted murder, rape, and drug trafficking. Restorative justice options have also been removed for young people convicted of these serious crimes. Beyond these specific sentencing changes, the Victorian government has also alluded to targeting adult puppet masters behind youth crime. However, this is not a new policy concept. Back in 2017, legislation known as Fagan's Law was introduced to address a similar concern. The current announcement is seen by some as a rehashing of past policies, particularly as Melbourne faces increased public discourse about disorder, evoking comparisons to Dickensian London. The political landscape in Victoria is shaped by a history of opposition parties seeking to leverage crime as a winning election issue. The Victorian Coalition, for instance, successfully gained ground in 2010 by promising armed guards on metropolitan train stations at night. This resonated with voters' feelings of insecurity, even if the actual crime statistics at stations were not overwhelmingly high. Since then, the coalition has consistently sought similar impactful crime policies, including exploring powers to dismiss magistrates who impose lenient sentences during the 2018 campaign. This pattern reflects a broader strategy by conservative parties in opposition, focusing relentlessly on crime to present themselves as strong, decisive leaders. The Victorian government's sudden shift in policy, however, is not seen as a reflection of long-held convictions or a carefully considered plan. Instead, it appears to be a strategic adoption of the Queensland LNP's playbook for electoral success. Executed while already in power, there is little indication that this adult time policy was thoroughly thought through. Promotional materials bearing the slogan have reportedly been produced before the detailed laws have even been finalized. Some cabinet members allegedly learned of the proposal only an hour before a meeting, suggesting a policy driven by polling data and focus group results rather than substantive evidence or reasoned debate. The government's move comes at a time of palpable public anxiety and a growing sense of disorder. Across the state, many individuals know someone who has been a victim of crime, and images of home invasions, carjackings, and murders are readily accessible online. The pervasive feeling of a breakdown in public order, characterized by visible drug use, mental health crises, and empty storefronts, contributes to a widespread sense of insecurity, even if these issues do not always directly translate into criminal charges. Public anger is a tangible force, with members of parliament reporting an influx of constituent emails concerning violent crimes in their local areas. Premier Jacinta Allan herself began a press conference announcing the new laws by reading an email detailing a harrowing home invasion where a 16-year-old assailant stabbed a father 3 times and left his son traumatized. Such personal accounts underscore the very real fear and anger driving public sentiment. However, effective political leadership, it is argued, involves more than simply reacting to immediate public outcry with broad, punitive measures. It requires confronting the issue head-on, acknowledging the concerns of citizens, and clearly articulating a well-reasoned plan to address them, even when that plan may not align with popular, short-term demands. The current policy, critics contend, prioritizes a rapid, emotional response over a sustainable, evidence-based solution to the complex